Hey guys, you know me already. I'm Inesa. I'm a senior software engineer at Grid Dynamics, and today I want to talk about leading with emotional intelligence and why it matters in general. So let's start with just a base understanding, which we need to get through this talk. That yes, teamwork changes with AI, and this is something that we need to accept, whether we like it or not. This is really happening, and we need to face the fact and face its consequences and see what we can do about it. But I've been thinking a lot how we can actually prove this, because sometimes there are things that you know, but you don't know how to prove them. And this was one of those things, because every day I would go to work and see that something changes, and this was already for several months since the AI agents and AI models were developing. I was noticing this faster and faster. So I thought, okay, there must be a way to prove this out, and I realized that we can start with the basics. So, is AI replacing the human connection? And I have two examples, Glean and Robo. Have any of you used Glean? Do you know anything about this tool? Anyone? Okay, so Glean is a huge software. It's designed for enterprise companies. It's pricey. I cannot say that it's easy to use, and it costs a lot, but it's a huge tool which combines many things. It has its own agents, and it combines many models, and it's, again, model agnostic. So you can use whatever you like. You can use Gemini, you can use GPT models, but that's not the point. The thing is that you can connect all your resources of your company together, whether it will be Slack messages, your Jira board, everything, all the documentation that you ever owned. You can connect it all together and then use all those information combined with AI agents to retrieve information about your own products, your own company, and your project. So you can ask Glean, for example, can you explain me why we do this kind of business? What's the business logic here that we have this code? Or you can ask, can you share some piece of documentation with me so that I can understand why this kind of thing work the way they do? And Glean is super powerful, that's for sure. But here's the thing. Before this and before any other similar tools, most likely we would go to our colleagues, right? Let's say we just joined a new company, and we would go to someone and say, hey, do you know how this thing works? Can you share some piece of information with me, some documentation, so that I understand how to do setups? But now, most likely, at least in my company and in other companies who utilize these tools, you would go to an AI and say, please find this for me, and it would most likely find it. And this is a real case where it shifts the human to human interaction to human with AI interaction. And this is just one use case, and many other use cases would involve development specific questions, right? But this is just the base case. If you just came to a new company and you just want to understand how things work, what is the business logic here, right? And what about the Robo? Did you hear of this one? Have you seen it anywhere? Yes. Again, similarly, if you want to find why this XYZ ticket was created, what was the history associated with it, and why we do it in general, we can use this one again, and it will most likely get that information. And honestly, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to do. I'm not saying that we shouldn't use this thing, because they already exist and they make our life easy in those ways, but we need to realize the fact that they replace something very valuable, the human part. And in general, when you go to a new workspace, when you just join a team, I think it's one of the most important things to be part of something, to know your colleagues, and to work closely with them. And these are just examples that replace some sort of connection, and I personally believe that it affects long-term to how teams work together. And since we talked a lot about Glean, I wanted to also share with you an and connect this to our previous workshop, the presentation that Armin shared, that we can see here that another use case similar to Google ADK that it's very similar, but this is a production-ready and non-open source example of such a cycle where even Glean can generate agents on its own, given your prompts. For example, you say, Glean, I want you to implement some sort of a cycle which will get this information, that information, then generate some visualizations, and then send this over, I don't know, to some Slack channel, create the report. And this guy can do it, and it can create the agent on its own. So it has its own agent builder and its own orchestrator for all this stuff. And as I mentioned, it of course uses LLM because that's the base layer of all of this. And yes, this is again agnostic to the LLM itself. But the cool part again was the many tools that you could connect, all the information, you could share meeting recordings, notes, whatever your company ever owns, you can pass it over and utilize this the way you want. For example, I personally found this tool very useful for my company because it's very huge. There are many people working and thousands of teams, and sometimes you don't even know who you need to ask a certain question. And well, since I don't know who to reach out to, I might just as well reach out to Glean. But all this is super nice. But again, back to the idea that we need to remind ourselves that we are definitely missing out on something here. And to prove this out, I thought, okay, why not just go and see what is the current research on this topic, on AI and leadership, to see does it really affect it? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe everyone just knows how to use it, when to use it, and everything is fine. But maybe not. So I found very interesting research about this, which covers a few main areas, and one of those areas is four of those areas are team composition, team process, trust, and team performance. So this research focused solely on these four criteria, but I'm sure there are many more criteria behind this. And if we start talking about team composition, basically just to share with you what was the research on like high level, just a few words. So they created a task, simulated an emergency task, and they created a few focus groups. One team which is human-only team, so everyone there are regular humans. Another team which is AI-only teams, and a mixed team with humans and AIs. And basically they created some criteria based on which they would judge to see how the experiment is going, which team is performing better and which one is performing worse. And okay, if we talk about team composition, it was found out that AI-only teams perform best. And of course, it's really hard to say what is it to perform better, but I mean, we just talk about making things quicker, or maybe even writing a better code. But we can say that, again, in this scenario, mixed human AI teams perform the worst, interestingly enough, and the main difference would be that human-only teams had stronger shared mental models. It would mean that they would have something in common, maybe because they worked already together, and they would have this connection together, and we will later see how it affects the overall satisfaction and the result in the team. Go ahead.
What is the AI-only teams?
It's a team where all the employees are AI agents, or
no humans at all.
No. Just AI-only teams. And basically, in terms of team composition, it appeared that adding AI disrupted shared understanding among humans, because we would have this assumption that human-only teams have some shared understanding, and when we add the AI, it really disrupts this momentum of humans together. Another thing would pay attention to in this research was team processes, and adding an AI teammate affected this in a way that it impaired the communication and coordination, mainly because of this point that AI lacks push and pull behaviors. And what I mean by this is that there are some people in teams who know a lot and they tend to share a lot as well. For example, they might just come and say, I found this, let's all start to use this technology, this new cool thing that just came out. For example, I had a colleague that when signals were just brand new, I remember that day when he came and said, I found this cool thing, we have to use this. And our engineering manager was very, very happy, and he said, okay, yeah, we must use this. And he enforced everyone to use signals from that day on and signal stores, and he would write it all the time in PR reviews. So this is just push behavior in this kind of things, and pull behavior is a behavior or a person who always tries to learn a lot, as much as they can from everyone. And obviously we can tell that AI doesn't really know how to do this well, like the way humans know how to do it. And basically the researchers found that this can lead to less effective team communication overall. And what about trust? Because we know that trust is a very important component when we speak about team success in general, and turns out that trust in AI decreases when it performs badly. But honestly, this I think applies to humans as well. If you have a new coworker, or if you have a coworker who isn't really able to do his task, or is writing a code which is not suitable to the coding standards or the practices that you use, we tend to lose trust. So we might start to pay more attention to the PRs that they create, for example, right? And this is honestly very logical and very natural. But we also see that in this research that trust in new human colleagues is higher than just starting to use a brand new model, which again makes sense because these models are new and this technology is again relatively new, so again, all natural. But an interesting exception that I found personally very surprising is that in structured tasks like chess or something in medicine, for example, biomedical imaging or anything like this, it was seen that humans may trust AI suggestions more than the suggestions that other humans make. I honestly cannot explain why. I don't have any ideas why this could be, and neither these researchers, but I'm sure there must be something deeper in our consciousness that maybe we find this kind of structures task maybe more, generally more challenging or less common to be good at. I don't know. There might be many reasons, but this is an interesting correlation, at least that was found in this research. And in general, when we speak about the team performance, it was seen that human and AI models can outperform either alone or in structured domains, again, as mentioned, like chess diagnosis. However, when the cooperation is tighter for human and AI, it was seen that teams, for now at least, underperform a little. And the reasons might include because there is weaker team cognition together, or lower trust. Again, many reasons because technology is new and cooperation is less productive because we didn't yet have the chance to adapt all the communication ways with the new technology. And it also can be that we sometimes have inaccurate or biased opinion about AI. And what I mean by this is that I know that there are many people and many engineers that they push back on AI a lot, and they would say, no, I'm fine with just the tools that I have, I don't need to use AI, I'm doing this better or whatever. So some people are afraid of these tools, some people just don't like to use them, and this bias definitely affects this because in a lot of teams using AI is a forced practice. nowadays. And I've seen this a lot, that managers or team leaders find this AI models useful, and they say that it's a new coding standard, it's a new practice that we all need to follow. And obviously, since we have to follow it, this bias can come up to light. And what I want to conclude for this research is that we can definitely see that technical skill or AI capability isn't enough, or maybe it isn't enough anymore. Because maybe a few years ago, being very knowing everything about some technical stack would be an amazing plus to your portfolio, and you would most likely get hired if you know a lot about some certain technology. But if you lack some soft skills, you would have most likely been hired to your position. But I think that nowadays it's not enough anymore, and we need a bit more. And we definitely see that team success depends on the human side, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who control the technology, not the vice versa. I hope. Okay, and now what relates to leadership and AI and in general team processes, I want to highlight this, and I know that some people might disagree, and this is a bit a weird point, but I think that not only managers are leaders, and not only the people who have leader or manager title are actually leaders. Of course, we have engineering managers, direct managers, team leaders, or whoever that might be, and their role is irreplaceable. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that it's not just them who are leading the team. And maybe we can see that one of those hidden leadership roles is a senior engineer, because who is the person who works the closest with the team, who has the most knowledge about the project, who's been the longest there, most likely, and who works day to day with the team and on their shared goals and tasks. I think it's the senior engineer, because we have an engineering manager who is mostly busy with talking to other teams, negotiating deadlines, thinking about prices, costs, and everything, and they come and tell you, no, team, we have to do this, we have this much time, we have to group the task and decide about the approach. But these people are the people who work the closest with the team, and since they do that, then they have a huge space to make an impact and to lead the team towards a direction that they want to lead the team to. So I think as senior engineers, we all need to understand our impact here, and when we do some things, think about this, that we create a lot of impact. And especially if the team consists of engineers with different roles, let's say juniors, interns, mid-engineers, or some other sorts of engineers, quiz and everything. So this definitely can make a change in your team. And this is going to the point where now we know that we need to be good at leading. We need to a little bit separate us from AI controlling us, and then it comes and connects to being emotionally intelligent, because you need to know this in order to be able to lead the team to the direction that you want to. And what is emotional intelligence, and how should we build this? Sometimes I think it seems pretty obvious, the points that I might share, but I think sometimes we just forget that we should apply this at work. Yeah, that is true. And I have a few points that I want to highlight on specifically. And one being patient and self-aware. And honestly, I don't want to go to some cliche words that you have to be patient, you have to love the team, you have to help everyone. I think I just want to be more practical here and give you some examples that I've personally seen or I've personally experienced. And one example being an engineer who submits a piece of code with bugs, or they do it later than they should, so they delay the deliverable on the project. And what we can do as senior engineers here, yeah, we can say that something isn't working right, we have to work this faster, but we can do it in many different ways. We can definitely be patient and self-aware, because we might be mad that this is not being delivered on time, but this is our own reaction to the issue, right? And we should be able to control ourselves and recognize our own feeling, and then only make some reactions towards this person. I'm not saying it's whenever things don't go right, we have to say, yay, great, you didn't do it on time. No, but we definitely can handle this better than we currently do. And one tactic I really like to use is to actively collaborate before that time comes. So for example, if you know that this person has some task that probably it will be challenging for them, and we know that, for example, they have 7 days, 6 days, whatever, maybe we can reach out to them before we get to this situation, and use patience here in a way that we reach out to them with a simple message that, hey, I know you're working on this, do you need any help? How are you doing with this task? Do you think that there are any issues related to this? So I think it's a really good tactic to prevent this kind of things, and then practice our own self-awareness and patience with other engineers who are just starting or who are struggling with any sort of task. And this, again, similarly, everything really is connected with each other, because you cannot do the first point and not do the second point, to show support and compassion, and everything just simply connects to each other, that when you are patient, when you try to be helpful, then these points already happen in a way out of the box, right? And one thing that I also find very important is prioritizing team success over personal, because we obviously would have our own tasks that we have to do with certain time frames, but we would need to be more attentive to others around us, because the goal would be for the team to deliver something and not us delivering something and others delivering their own stuff. And I think this also comes from higher leadership, because if, let's say, there is a new epic that the team needs to work on, some X epic, and if we divide our things in a way that those things don't overlap with each other a lot, then this will never happen. Forget about it, right? Because if the thing that I'm working on doesn't have anything to do with the thing that this other person works, then I definitely cannot drop whatever I'm doing and go say, like, okay, let me help you with your thing, because mine will not work anymore, right? So I think that it also matters that we divide the tasks in a way that those stay connected, so that we can later work together. But even in those cases, we need to prioritize this and help the people in our team, so that they can complete their own tasks as well. And fourth and fifth points are, I think, that are one of the most important ones. And I know that this is not easy to just say that we need to openly discuss the issues. I know that it sounds very easy in words or written or something like this, but we need to inject these strategies into the team. Because if we go and say we need to openly discuss issues, no one is going to start doing it. Then it means that we need to start doing this. And again, this connects back to leading the team, because this is a direction that we need to take, and we need to just start doing this. Because when you just go to the retrospective, I hope that your teams do retrospectives as well. If not, then maybe this is something you can suggest in your team. In my perspective, it's very productive, but you can go there and share, I've noticed that we aren't using the coding practices when we make PRs, for example. This is an open issue, and you've raised it, and when you do it enough times, the team learns how to do this. Because if no one is paying attention to this, then no one will ever do this. And this, again, connects to the last point, and this more relates to when you have direct reports, when there are people who directly report to you, and when you need to share some sort of a feedback in some recurring manner, let's say every month or 6 months. And this again connects to the last one and all the previous ones, because if you don't work closely with them, you will not know what to write, you will not be fair on your feedbacks, and you will most likely say something which doesn't make sense. For example, how many of you had a case where you had something in your PR comments which was very vague? Like, for example, this can be improved, or the formatting is incorrect. Like, does this happen to you ever? Do you always get some? Yeah, like this happens a lot, right? I think sometimes this happens so often that it seems very basic that people write this kind of things. But again, this comes and connects to the idea that really sharing constructive feedback is not hard. And I've been in many such kind of trainings, and everyone's saying, you know, being constructive and telling useful things is hard. People say like this, but honestly, I don't think so, because you have to be straight to the point. If you think that the PR isn't good, then why do you think so? If you have no points, nothing to share on why the PR isn't good, then probably you don't think so, and you're just trying to be picky on someone's PR, just maybe because of some personal reasons with this person. And this happened to me, for example. I've had this kind of conflict before, and I'm pretty sure that it happens to everyone who speaks up that, you know, you are writing vague comments on my PRs. So we need to speak up about this kind of things, and instead of that, say, you know, your code, it's you did a lot of job, but I think that here are a few things that we need to improve, and you can even write, since it's like many things that I want to discuss, maybe just ping me and we can discuss this. So I think it's pretty straightforward, honestly, and we just have to want to do this, and then we won't have this kind of situation. Yes, and another point of truth is that if we don't discuss, we'll never know, because sometimes people aren't very attentive, then they write things, and if you just stick there and think too much about it, you will not know what was the root reason of writing that, and you will have a lot of things accumulated, honestly. So what about AI? Where does AI fit in this picture? So identifying the issues, in my opinion, is a step for a leader, for us, for human, but solving them can be delegated to AI. And I really want to focus on the word can, because I think we don't have to always delegate this kind of things to AI. And this is a small reminder, a kind reminder that we don't have to use AI for everything. And it was an interesting thing that before this, when you guys were working on the task for the workshop and discussing all these kind of things, I remember someone said, you know, this is all very cool, but we don't have to always use this. And I was like, right. People agree with me. So
Absolutely.
we really don't have to use AI for everything, and I think we have to have a strategy to see what kind of things we should delegate and what kind of things we shouldn't. And remember when we were talking about AI agents and how agents replace the loop of us deciding whether the result of the agent is good or not. So let's say when we give a prompt to an LLM, it gives us an output, and then we read it and we think, is it good enough? Should I reiterate? And then I replace something like, yeah, can you change this part, make it better, or do it something in another way? So we did the reiteration before the agents when it's a workflow, but then the agents come and they replace this part. Maybe in this kind of things, we don't need to act and place us as if we are agents. Maybe we need to use our real consciousness to do the decision step and then the delegation step as well. So I think in this kind of things, we need to think more in a workflow manner rather than agentic manner. So we identify the problem, we decide what we do, and then we delegate, because this is human problems and we have to solve them. And I have just a few examples on this that can happen in real life. And all of these are taken from like real cases. Really, all these things happen to me when I was in teams. So for example, I noticed that some of my engineers are disengaged in stand-ups or in some team meetings. And okay, I think what is the problem? And can I know this if I do not ever ask anyone, okay, what is the problem, guys? Can you tell me what's the problem, you know? And when I do this conversation, then I decide what is it, okay? Maybe they share something that we don't understand. I really had a case when I asked this person, you don't speak a word during groomings. I'm asking why is it? And we were having this private conversation. And this person telling me, you know, I don't understand anything. Like I have zero understanding of what you guys are talking about in that meeting. I don't know. Why are we doing this? What's the business case? And I was like, okay, sure, but okay. And this can really happen often. But the interesting thing is that during those kind of meetings, someone obviously at the end asks, do you have any questions? And no one says a thing. But really, most likely most of the team didn't understand anything. So really it happened to me, and I think now that I identified the problem, I saw that there is something wrong. I challenged this idea, I went ahead and asked, and I got some answers, honest answers. Again, not everyone is that honest, unfortunately, and it's really hard to be. I cannot blame anyone for this. And now that we have these cool AIs, maybe I can use it for these kind of things as well. For example, I can use Link or this Slack AI for this kind of things to do some sort of a sentiment analysis. Because I don't know if you have this, guys, but we recently started to use this AI summarizers when we do some meetings, and even while we are on the meeting, I sometimes notice that while we speak, it already writes stuff in the notes. And it says like, Inesa shared that she's working on this, someone shared that she's working on that, and we can use all that data that happens during the meetings and in private conversations in Slack and combine this with Link to do some sentiment analysis and see how we can monitor and what can be some potential blockers for us. And I tried this and it was pretty good results, so I definitely recommend this. Another good example can be that we see that, I don't know, we start to do some issues in our backend, some issues happen a lot. I don't know, it's a random example about memory leaks, but it really can be anything. And we can again, try to understand what can be the root cause. And there are many reasons to this, right? It can be because we don't know the best practices to avoid this, or we didn't communicate well which best practices we should use, so many things. And for these kind of things, code-related things, there are also ways out to discuss to see if we all understand what practices we want to use. We can use GitHub Copilot for summary and for code reviews, and honestly, it got really, really good at that, at code reviews. And we can scan, let's say, the past 50 PRs, for example, on that repo, and see what was the common pattern. Maybe a lot of people were using some weird anti-pattern on Java on those 50 PRs, because maybe when we implement something, we see, right, what other people are writing, and if that kind of solution was already implemented, and most likely we would copy-paste, because it's already done, right? We don't want to invent the bicycle. So we can definitely utilize AI for this kind of things. And similar example, don't want to dive too deep into this one, but again, if we see that there are many delays, and we can, in Jira tickets or in this kind of things, again, we identify the problem, we decide what to do with this, because we discussed with the team, we saw some problems, and then maybe we delegate to AI, but maybe we don't, but we can use this kind of tools, for example, Notion for good notes, or this Jira guide that we discussed at the beginning of the presentation for seeing what are the hard blockers. For example, once when we were analyzing this, we noticed that a lot of bottlenecks for my team were generated by some specific team, which was an outsourced team for my company. And there we just saw that it was a pattern that those tickets that we had for them were taking too long, and all the tickets that were dependent on them were starts being delayed. It sounds easy, but when you have a billion things going on the board or in general, it's really hard to get the grasp of it by just looking, because it's a lot of data. And when we deal with a lot of data, I think AI can be utilized to just simplify things for us. So, lastly, just want to highlight that emotional intelligence is essential, even in AI-enhanced team, because whatever tools may come up, whatever cool things and models we find and we use and automate whatever we want, but still we need this. And unfortunately, it's the hardest thing to have. It's just to be patient with people, just to be patient with ourselves, and to communicate. And I have some small tip, if you find this challenging, is just to spend 10 or 15 minutes per day to combine AI tools for summarizing the things that we write, the feedbacks that we write, or I don't know, checking some tones, emotions, or generating prompts to see how we are doing with this in general. And if we do this consistently, I think we will really get better at this. So thank you very, very much for your time and attention. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you. Yeah.
You mentioned that we work with lots of data, and we can be overwhelmed with this, and AI could help to find these patterns. And actually, this situation that you mentioned, is it a real situation or not? If it is real, was this outcome from AI or from your personally or some?
Which example you mean?
I guess the last one, when you told about inter-team communication.
Cross-team.
Oh yeah, that was a real example, and it was AI that told us, because I was thinking, okay, I don't understand why this ticket under this epic takes so long. What's wrong with it, right? Because everything seems fine, but this is weird. And just to make a point here, in my workspace we have too many teams, and sometimes you don't even know them. It's that many, and those are super interconnected that I need to spend many hours to just map to see which one connects to which, and I used AI for this to see which tickets were taking the longest, for which team this was, and it was really identified that that particular team was creating a lot of bottleneck for this epic to be delivered on time. And since eventually maybe they would do it in their time frames, but it would be, let's say, towards the end of their time limit, and it would leave no time for my team to deliver my things. So it was AI to do the summary, but it was humans to identify the bottleneck and humans to utilize the tool to see what was the reason for this.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Can I ask a question? I saw the slide about this AI or whatever that does sentiment analysis.
Yeah.
Does sentiment analysis on what? It's like messages?
Yeah, so let's say when you have
Which Slack messages?
your private Slack messages in channels, when you
Also
discuss.
private messages.
Oh yeah.
So if I text one of my coworkers on Slack, it can see and report something to like my superiors?
No.
What
To
do you do?
yourself. To yourself. You're not.
It will tell me how I feel?
No. See, so for example, you.
I've never used it.
Yeah. So there is that cool summarizer in Slack, and let's say when there is a huge thread going on which involves many people and many teams, and when you come at last moment and you see there are like 200 messages under this thread and you don't understand what's going on, you can use that for getting the summary and getting the high level points from that conversation. I'm not saying that we use this to analyze.
Sentiment analysis. You mentioned sentiment analysis. What's sentiment analysis?
Yeah.
Like retrospective.
I
You were too rude with this guy.
Okay.
Yes, you can ask it to give that kind of analysis, and one of those good examples that I saw, not in this research particular, but in another research that it was used, and one of the results was that it told the person that you were interrupting many people and you were like speaking in this meeting for like this many minutes, and it was just trying to highlight that there was like I don't know, 20 people and you
I don't
took this
know.
much time and you interrupted this many people. Sometimes it's too much. I
But if
understand.
everybody uses AI in a Slack channel, then what sentimental laws?
Bro, they want to replace us. At some point it will be all AI. One AI will interrupt other AI, the other AI will analyze and say you're interrupting the other AI. And they will post AI generated videos.
The generative manager.
Yes, and the other AI will reply to that video, and other AI goes and like those videos.
Well, we are the ones eventually to build those AIs, right?
So
in
why
the
would
first
we do
place.
that?
Why do we build them? I don't
upload the
know.
videos.
I guess we should stop developing them. No, just kidding. Just a matter to know when to use it and when not to. Thanks. Other questions?
Questions?
Okay, thank you very, very much.